Rock Chat with Trace.
Welcome to Rock Chat with Trace, and today we are talking photography, with my guest being Corinne Cumming, award-winning events and music photographer who specialises in portraits, weddings, events, live music. Hello and welcome to Rock Chat with Trace. How did you first get interested in photography?
It was probably when I was in secondary school and they were offering a photography GCSE and I decided I wanted to do it. But then when I got to school in year 10, they turned around and said that I wasn't good enough at art to be good at photography. So I pretty much did it out of spite. I really hated that my art teacher said that. That's pretty much the moment for me, I reckon. I decided I wanted to do it.
So how did you turn it into a job?
I turned it into a job by constantly networking, pretty much, just taking every kind of photography job I could find, just rolling with it, to the point where I could then get kind of the better jobs, and I knew enough people that I could keep going, pretty much, I'd say.
What advice would you give to someone starting out?
I would say don't measure yourself to other people because everyone goes at their own pace. I would also say the worst that anyone can say to you is no. There is no harm in asking. Just when you do ask, be polite, be courteous, and don't be disheartened if it is a no. Just like keep chugging.
How did COVID-19 lockdown affect you?
So I lost 100% of my work. First it started with the events. Events all started getting cancelled, live music, drag shows, everything was getting cancelled left, right and centre. And I have a photography studio and those shoots started getting cancelled. People hiring my studio stopped hiring my studio. So that really did affect my business. I was basically doing absolutely nothing for a really long time, but it's starting to pick up again now, which is great.
How was it covering the Frank Turner post-lockdown concert?
I loved every second of it. So originally they did a show with Frank and Beans and Kiara, with nobody in the audience. It was just live streamed, and it was for Frank Turner's like live streamed gigs to raise money for the Grand. So that was brilliant, but there was nobody there. It was just the crew, and I was allowed to bring one person with me, and he was a friend who's a really big Frank Turner fan. But apart from that, nobody was there, and it was a bit of a weird thing to do. But the second one, having an audience, having a crowd, it just made life feel a little bit more normal, and it was a really great thing to be a part of, to be able to take photos of something that was quite historic, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was only the second one, because the first one I think was Beverly Night at the Palladium that they did the week before, and then Frank. So it was the first like rock. It was really awesome.
Can you tell me about some of the bands you photographed?
Some of the bands I've photographed. So bands that I've toured with are Grumblebee, and Jack, who was Grumblebee, is now in the singer in Lonely the Brave. There's Enda Shikari, who I've known for a long time, and I went on tour with them last year. And as it is the same with them, I've been friends with them for a really long time. The drummer, Foley, used to be my brother's geography teacher, so that's how far I go back. There are a couple of bands that I've toured with, but through my work with Rock Sound and stuff, I've shot almost every single band I could ever want to shoot. I'm still waiting to shoot Paramore.
What's it like shooting at the Reading Festival?
It's grueling, I'm not gonna lie. Shooting Reading Festival is not for the faint of heart. It's hard, it's long days. Last year, when it was 30, 31, 32 degrees, you're shooting from like 11 o'clock in the morning until midnight, and then you go home and you have to have a shower and then just edit until you've finished, and then you shut down your laptop and you wake up the next morning and you do it again. But the Sunday of Reading was so grueling and so awful that I had heat stroke. I threw up for 2 days straight afterwards. Not great. That like there is no festival that I love to shoot more than Reading, just for the intensity of it. It's really tough. But if you can make it through the weekend and you get some good stuff.
What's the best part of being a music photographer?
I think the best part of being a music photographer is the fact that photography was something that was my hobby that I managed to make into my career. But also, I've met some really incredible people through it that are, my nearest and dearest friends, and I wouldn't have met any of these people if it wasn't for photography. So I reckon it's that.
What equipment do you use when filming at a live music event?
So I have two Canon 5D Mark IIIs. I have a 50mm prime lens, 24 to 70, 2.8. I have a 16 to 35 2.8, and a 70 to 200 f4. So I mostly just use those two cameras and those four lenses pretty much.
How would you describe your style of photography?
I would say it's clean and colourful, and I just like to catch like the hard to catch, like the split second moment. That's like my thing, I think.
How do you choose which photos to edit?
A number of things. I look at the composition, whether it's like well composed as a photograph. I look at the expressions, whether their expressions are like flattering for them, or intense for them or whatever. And I look at their bodies and their body language. If it looks awkward, I probably wouldn't pick the photo. And I also look at the lighting. If the lighting is good, then you can usually kind of work around some other stuff.
Do you think it's okay for people to record live concerts on their phones?
I can see why people don't like it. It can be distracting for the artists. They don't want to just look out into a sea of phones. And as someone who enjoys gigs, it's not fun to try and watch a show and then someone like lifts a phone in front of your face and you see anything. I personally try, if I am taking videos or something on my phone, I personally just try and pick something that I know I'm going to want to go back and watch again. For example, when I went to see Fleetwood Mac last year with my dad, there were some songs that I wanted to like stay in the moment, just experience it then and just have it in my memories. But there were some that I was like, this is something I want to go back and watch again. So I filmed a few bits and pieces, but to film the whole thing I think is probably a bit excessive.
Can you tell me more about the Pride Inside UK project?
So Pride Inside was a national billboard campaign spearheaded by Ginger Johnson and colourful, two drag queens in like the London scene. And basically I was director of photography. So what I did was I found all the photographers. I think we had 17 in total in the end, and I helped to link them up with LGBTQIA plus people in their area to take photographs of when lockdown eased. So they were doing doorstep portraits and through the window portraits and photos in the park, basically ways that they could get around the kind of rules of not being close to people. Basically, I'm pretty sure that it was probably the most diverse Pride campaign the UK has ever had, because we had photographers from across the LGBTQIA plus world, and the same with the subjects. You know, we had trans activists, we had non-binary people, we had intersex activists, we had a mother and son, we had deaf queer activists and artists. You know, we've had Down syndrome artists. We really tried to represent as many sections of our community as we could, and I think that we really succeeded in doing that.
Can you tell me more about the Hot Dog Studios?
Hot Dog Studios is my photography studio. It's in Hackney Wick, and I started it in November 2017. And my dog, he's a sausage dog, his name is Cecil. He is the mascot, and basically it's just a photography studio that is affordable with all of the equipment that anybody kind of would possibly need to to create something beautiful and learn how to use a studio, because before I got the studio, I didn't have the money to do that for myself, and I know how expensive it can be and how tough it can be to do that. So I wanted to create a space that was like affordable for people to be able to learn themselves.
Are there any other projects you wish to talk about?
Project I wish to talk about. What have I got going on at the moment? I feel like because of lockdown, there was a lot going on during lockdown in terms of projects, people trying to keep creative, and that was what Pride Inside was for me. But now that lockdown is over and I'm starting to get back into normal life, it's less projects and more just a series of like things that I'm excited about in terms of work. So I'm now the in-house photographer at the Clapham Grand, so it's really great to be doing loads of shows there, comedy, drag, all kinds of stuff. And now that I can open my studio back up, I've been doing a lot of shoots in my studio, socially distanced. So I've had Cheryl Hole, one of the people who was on UK Drag Race, in my studio the other day, and a lot of other drag kings in, which has been really great. So it's just a series of just normal day-to-day jobs that I was doing before lockdown, but now I have a lot more appreciation for them now.
So how do people get in contact with you?
If people want to get in contact with me, you can do it via Instagram at Captured by Corinne, or Twitter at Corinne Dindin, or you can drop me an email on capturedbycorinne@gmail.com. I think that's probably the best way to get hold of me.
Thank you, Corinne Cumming, for being my guest on Rock Chat with Trace.